maybe just kind of reiterate for the audience, what your viewpoint with the colored labels were and why you were against that, and how maybe that has affected the hobby for the better or the worse over the last 20 plus years.
Mark Haskell and I thought people needed to know what was restored, right? But we didn't want to put a red label on it, because red means, stranger danger, whatever, stop. We thought people had to know. So we made sure that they would see a different color label. And if they were, novices, they would ask why. So they wouldn't pay the same as an unrestored book. And the qualified turned into something we never foresaw. That's the green label. And we were like, why sell this book as a 0.5? Because there's a page missing. You say it looks 9 up, but page 11 is missing. And because it says qualified, it meant this is what the book looks like, but this is the problem. I learned that from, dealers at the time that were honest. Some people had in their catalog, especially James Payette. He was a really good mentor to me. In his catalogs, it would say VFNM, there's no numbers back then, except, quarter-inch chip out of back cover. So you could decide what grade it is and if you want to pay his price or not. And he was honest, so people mostly bought from him. So we thought that was smart, but it's turned into, what are they calling them? Plods and glods, right? Purple label of death and cream label of death. And I do like the fact that there is a pedigree label. That's what I collected a lot. And it makes sense to have was it gold or something that CGC does? It appreciates the book for what it is, right? But there's too many BS pedigrees in our hobby as well. If you look at the churches and the Rileys and the White Mountains and the curators, these are real pedigrees. And then I see a book that isn't a pedigree label, and I don't even know the name of the collection. And if I don't know the name, it's weird. I look at the books and I'm like, well, a lot of these have creamed off white pages, and there's no major high grade keys. So why is it a pedigree? Just because it's original owner collection? No, that's only a piece of the puzzle. And that's when we started saying from the collection up, as opposed to a pedigree, because people have done wonders and amassed amazing stuff. But like when I handled Maggie Thompson's collection, it was mind-boggling. It's a pedigree. Everything was bought off the newsstand. She and Don read it once and put it away, or read it to their kids and put it away.
What's some of the things that for you were the most difficult to categorize, Steve?
Yeah, the green label. We had to figure out if we would give it a green label or give it a blue label. Actually, it was tough at the beginning. Once we figured out the standards, market value stamp missing or something like that, we figured out what we should and should not put into a green label. Like I said, when I opened CBCS, the thing was to look at the book and look at the restoration and make your own mind up. And we didn't qualify it. We gave it a straight grade. Marvel value stamp missing looks like a 7.0. It's a 3.0, because it doesn't affect the story. If it affects the story, you bring it down more because books are meant to be read. You figure it all out what works for people. But you make mistakes along the way. There's 1 or 2 books out there. When I look at the grade I gave it, I'm like, oh boy. But we're all human. We all make mistakes. There was a lot of tough decisions, but there was a lot of people wishing we would fail. So we had to do it right. It worked out. It's just different than anything Mark and I ever foresaw. We didn't see the stock market. We didn't see I only want 9/8. Try to find an all-star 898. Go ahead, please. High grade for a golden age book is 7.0.
Right.
Anything over that's crazy. I love it. or maybe 7.5 because people don't like minuses. I mean, some of the reasons we got rid of the nomenclature uh, and just the and just kept the grade because we had nomenclature that says good, very good, fine in that order, ascending. But if I said to you, and you're a novice coming in, I say, hey, how's your day going? And you say, good. I'm like, great. Or you say, very good. I'm like, great. And if you go, fine, I go, what's wrong? I'd like to go back to the nomenclature, but it's easier for novices to learn by numbers. It makes it a little simpler for them. So we got rid of the nomenclature because the dealers were asking for that too, and some collectors. It was really funny when I started CBCS. I said, okay, we should have a blue label for restored books, and with the word restored heavily over the grade, because that's the first thing they look at anyway. And then we would put a check mark next to it. We used to put a star next to it, a blue star, to say it looks better than it is, right? I didn't create a qualified grade either. We just graded it the way it was and let people make their decision on what they want to pay. I want people to be able to crack out books and not be scared to read it or, oh, I might get a lower grade if I send it back. I think less colored labels are best. I mean, if we have 3 or something like that, that's cool. But if you get up to 10, come on. It just makes everything nutty.
I think in all the confusion and the collecting, people are collecting labels now. And
right.
Collect, the plot in the box is like the thumbnail that's sore. It's like, oh my God, I saw reading books. That's the thing about CGC is like they're so liquid, and people are so concerned about, am I going to get my money back? Am I going to make any money? And nobody reads books anymore, and nobody looks at interior art. Everything's cover centric. The one big thing that I think, and Keston knows this because I'm a big proponent of, is the new guys, which is great to have new people in the hobby, but they don't know how to grade books anymore because
they're growing up on plastic. Unlike us who had to look at every little thing, we had to read grading guides, we had to talk to other people, and then there was people who like stains more than creases or creases more than stains. They would grade a little differently than you.
And those people, they don't know how to grade books because they don't know how to handle books, and they're afraid to handle books. And
yeah,
pull books out, I want to smell the pages. I want to count the pages. I want to read it. I want to look at it. Now I get it. Pedigree books, there's too much money involved. I get it. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think I would like to see people continue to be hobbyists or find out what it means to be a hobbyist and not just collect slabs and display them on your shelf.